So to wrap up, Leslie, Gerald, can you come over and open up the door to your project room online? And so Gerald actually graduated from CCA also, and he started using the software in education. We provide the software for free for CCA, and we want, if you guys are affiliated with other educational institutions, please let us know, because we want to give away to other institutions. So let us know, we'll get that sorted. So Leslie, I already asked you about the challenges, but when was the last time you had a problem with a remote meeting? An anecdote, please.
How about this morning? So we are, as I mentioned, kind of emerging to being a global organization. Intuit has had the benefit of being co-located in Mountain View for the last 20-some years, and our opportunity is global, and especially in the small business space, and we are aggressively building up teams in Paris, in London, in Sydney, in Bangalore, in Toronto, Sao Paulo, and beyond. And we are figuring out how to actually effectively work in that capacity. So I'd say in terms of design maturity, Intuit is actually pretty far along in terms of building a culture of receptivity to customer centricity, methodologies of design thinking, having that extend beyond the design organization proper. But in terms of figuring out how to actually remotely collaborate with one another, how to sustain design excellence in tandem with design thinking, where we definitely have miles to go, and it's not a once and done. It's kind of like working out. I'd love to. I was in great shape in January, and then I kind of quit doing it. And I think that sustaining behaviors and habits have that level of building a practice where you have to keep doing. And so in a way, like when we declared ourselves design-driven, that was actually the beginning of our collective demise. And so don't do that. We are now in the position of actually having to rebuild a lot of the core capacity around research, around empathy, around reclaiming the position of designers as the influencers and the guides. I loved the terminology that you used. Because I think that's really relevant, because you do want to be inclusive, but you actually also want to preserve the position and make sure that the professionals themselves are recognized and can be effective. And so in terms of the problem we encountered this morning, some of our design team calling in from Bangalore, attempting to utilize the tools, WebEx, some of the things that we are actually relying upon to allow us to remotely share with each other. We'd auto-muted all the lines, and it turned out the person that was trying to talk couldn't do it. We're like, press *6, press *6. So I don't know if you guys have had this moment, but it was interesting, and for us it seems to be a little bit of rinse repeat. I would love to have Gerald share. We are figuring out how Mural can fit in our toolkit. We're also figuring out how Surface Hub can do the same. We're about to move into a new building in Mountain View, which is extremely exciting. I'm a former architect, so I'm an enormous advocate of the role that space plays. And I also think that having a sexy tool cannot be undervalued. It's a symbol, right? It does nothing unless you actually use it for its purpose. But it's something that allows people to say, hey, I want to learn how to use that thing. Can I borrow it? We purposefully ordered the one that's on the stand because we want people to roll it out of the space that it's positioned in and go take it to theirs and learn through doing and learn through envy how to actually take advantage of these tools. So I'll let Gerald talk a little bit in specificity about how he's used Mural on his project on reconciliation.
So as Mariano was just saying, during I think the second or third semester is when I first met Mariano, and he pitched Mural, and I think he did the right thing at the right time, and it kind of disseminated into the whole design world, and everyone started advocating right away. So since then, I've been a big advocate of Mural, and I've been using it for all my personal work, and all of the following semester for our schoolwork ended up totally being on Mural, because the program I was on was completely meant to be for remote folks. We just gather like once every month, so all team members were all over the place. So So when I came to Intuit, it was a perfect place to kind of, I didn't really need to have to pitch. All I need to go tell Leslie, hey, by the way, this is a great place. Why come we're not using Mural? And that's it. And we started with the trial, and just users and most of the team members just onboarded in just a matter of just weeks. And this is one of the very first project we started. I started kind of spearheading this called, it was one of the QuickBooks Online project. It was a project called Reconciliation. And at the very first phase, when we were kind of kicked off a project, all we tried to know that was given to us was just a metric saying, hey, this is 3.91% of the user care calls is predominantly related to this little project you're going to work on. We're going to redesign it, go redesign it. So at very first, we didn't know the whole element of accounting and this complexity and QuickBooks and what reconciliation is. So the very first phase, we dove into the empathy phase where we wanted to just talk to real users. So that was never an issue at Intuit. Getting access to users was so much easier. So at the very first beginning when we started to talk at least to 10 or 15 accountants and small business owners to try to understand what is reconcile, pretty much just go tell them, hey, teach us what is reconcile. So that was the perfect place to start. And we did this with a combination of both note-taking, both on it's either Evernote, and pretty much every time we come out of our 90-minute session or 60-minute session from every user call, we pretty much send like at least 15 minutes to kind of debrief on every interview that kind of went through. And we kind of have this working area for each of this mural. So this is like usually we set up like a little playground in here. So this is pretty much a working area. We dump on all the highlights from each of these calls that come out. And later that night or the next day, usually set up time with some of the team members to kind of start grouping them into familiar patterns that kind of eventually evolve. So that kind of help us to kind of go back to the rest of the team members to say, hey, by the way, this is where we are trying to move into, and the project is starting to shape, and we kind of see the biggest buckets and biggest pain points. These are the areas we just not going to be just a mere redesign project. It's more like a rethink project. So let's go back to business and say, let's not just make it pretty, but make it functional and just help users to kind of take it to the next level. So we kind of started from that phase, and that pretty much kind of helped us define our journey map to say, from an end-to-end phase, what exactly users were facing. I used this super tool to create a journey map, but looks like later I learned that you can also do using Mural to do that. So given that end-to-end spectrum of the current reconciliation project, where the highs and lows are in the different phase of the product itself, this kind of helps us to bring the rest of the team on board. So similar to what Adam was talking about, we in this observation phase and we enjoy it, trying to understand and learn. And there's a PD team who's on a timeline, who's ready to build and make and move forward. It's about blurring the lines between those two edges to kind of bring them onto speed. Because we spent at least 2 to 3 months to kind of understand all the space. There's no way the PD teams has the time to kind of onboard right away onto this project. So it's giving them this bird's eye view of what it is in a matter of hours, to kind of distill down all this to in a matter of hours. I think this was a great place for us. And this is kind of a living document. I was kind of spearheading this, acting as an admin, and eventually this work area I was just talking about eventually ended up being a place where every user in our team, we started adding the PD teams, and every reference they asked to share us, every meetings we come up to, they're always sharing stuff from existing screenshots. It could be competitive landscape, and there could be multiple resources. At one point, it becoming like a living doc for repository as well. So as we were saying earlier, we try to keep the design initiative as part of a team effort. So it's not just designers designing, the entire team is designing. So all the sketch storms, we usually use physical boards, ended up eventually living in Mural. So that's a key advantage of Mural itself here. And quantifying all of our qualitative feedback. So this ended up being like a final takeaway from every Mural session we have. So these are pretty much good old spreadsheets when it comes to PMs. Eventually, the business teams, we had to communicate. These are the metrics. These are some of the high-level research insights that came out of it. And we are making informed decisions on each of it. It's just we're not winging it. We're making informed decisions on each of the decisions we're making. So pretty much quantifying the qualitative feedback. So this has been a great place.
As you can see, if you use Mural a lot, you're very passionate about it. Anyway, so there's a couple of wrap-ups. So one, Jim Carvalho, our head of customer success, could not be here. He's in Europe speaking at conferences and fancy things, but he just published a book with O'Reilly. We have a copy for each one of you, so pick it up before you leave. We also have, thank you for, the Microsoft Surface guys are here. That's why we have a ET4 in touchscreen that I recommend you come and play around with. So Adam and Joey are gonna be here together with Mark, helping you guys. If you want to experiment, if you want to draw, the responsiveness is amazing. It's like a big iPhone in terms of responsiveness, and the stylus work really amazing. And again, Adam is working with creative industries and looking for case studies, looking for people willing to pilot and so forth. And then, thank you, Piper from IDEO, say hello. She helped organize everything. She works with Diego. Thank you, Diego, for amazing setup. My team, Mark, thanks for the video, guys. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Gerald, of course. We have more food, more wine. It's all Argentinian food, Argentinian wine. Great stuff. So again, thank you very much. I'm about to die. We'll do this again. And thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Oh, okay. I want to email some to myself anyways, but is that what